Yeah, and it's like the real Tony Stark gets like back somehow, and there's like a moment where she's flying through and he's like, who is that? And she's like, I'm Ironheart, Mr. Stark. And he's like, I like that girl. And then he like goes to do something else. Like that would be like the level of something that I think would possibly happen.
RDJ is already challenging both Bob Iger and Kevin Feige that he will only make statements defending Ironheart and Riri Williams if it avoids arguments about DEI. Is where Downey Jr. pointed out to both Marvel and Disney that this could not only ruin his reputation, but also cost him fans, and he's against making those statements. However, both Bob and Kevin informed him that taking part in these types of statements and the press tour for Ironheart is built into his very expensive contract for the future of the MCU, mostly related to the return in Avengers Doomsday. Iger, Kevin Feige, and even Dominique Thorne heading into complete damage control to really take control of the situation, and so far that has worked to no avail. Well, this is exactly what's been going on now, to the point where Bob Iger and Kevin Feige are getting involved in a lot of drama with RDJ, Robert Downey Jr.
It looked like classic Downey charm, until it didn't. At an Ironheart junket, he tossed a breezy joke. The room laughed, but his smile never reached his eyes.
Now, RDJ is also very annoyed with Marvel and Disney after they initially forced him to do PR and become a part of the press tour, since it was built into his contract for Doomsday.
A clipped breath, a glance to a publicist. The real story lived on a private call days earlier, where the man who helped build the SU told the studio a word their PR deck hates. No. In late Phase 3, the logo alone could sell Saturday night. Audiences trusted Marvel to deliver stories both big and human.
Bob and Kevin refused, and they are forcing him to make statements to go against Marvel fans that are opposed to the Riri Williams character.
But trust thins when homework piles up, and speeches replace character when promotion sounds like a lecture.
That they also had Robert Downey Jr., and they had him roll out and really kind of prop the show up and prop the character of Riri Williams up above Tony Stark, and really tried to really have him really as the face of the Ironheart press tour, and it really just backfired completely.
Ironheart arrived with a mantle baked in, Riri Williams, prodigy, and heir to a myth that ended with a perfect sacrifice. People pressed play, fewer pressed next. Completion curves slid, hype tags turned into targets, and the conversation drifted from excitement to obligation. Executives went searching for the only patch that works when a brand cools, a voice the audience actually trusts.
I recall when they forced Robert Downey Jr., they made a deal with him to take part in the press tour to prop up Riri Williams, played by Dominique Thorne, on multiple talk show programs out there, a lot of which were, of course, affiliated with Disney. We'll talk more about that down the road. However, this is where it gets really intense, because we know that Robert Downey Jr. is a very busy man right now. He is heavily involved with Avengers Doomsday.
The pitch to Downey sounded simple. Don't cameo, anchor. Sit with the cast, bless the handoff, reframe the backlash. If questions wandered to pacing or thin character beats, pivot to representation. Emphasize toxic gatekeeping, review brigading, misogynistic noise. And because everyone could smell a certain event film on the wind, treat the push as an investment in your runway back. Somewhere in the fine print, a clause tied multi-film business to promotional flexibility. Help us carry this now. It helps you later. He didn't throw a tantrum. He drew a boundary. He would praise Dominique Thorne, talk mentorship and craft, and invite skeptics to watch with an open mind. But he would not scold the audience. He would not flatten critique into bigotry.
Now, already Robert Downey Jr. is enraged with both Disney and Marvel, as well as Marvel fans. Already Bob Iger and Kevin Feige held a recent emergency call/meeting that included Robert Downey Jr. remotely, where they were pressuring him to make a wide statement to Marvel fans to stop criticizing Riri Williams.
He would not wrap a rough reception in a moral bow and pretend optics fix story. Don't ask me to lie to the people who believed in me, he reportedly said. Give them a reason to believe again. On the other end, the tone turned contractual. Obligations, deliverables, the brand's greater good. The hinges tightened. The public tell was tiny. In a roundtable, he lobbed a faux jealous crack about Doom, smiled, and let his gaze drop a beat too long. 10 seconds, a million replays. Fans slowed the footage and caught the jaw set, the quick swallow, the room cooling. 2 of his hits vanished from calendars. Email subjects flared. Talent non-compliance, escalate. Outside, the mood didn't turn on him. It turned on the playbook. Viewers have learned to read studio weather, spin crosswinds, pressure drops, and a storm front felt close. The pattern is familiar. A flagship stumbles. Nuanced critique, some fair, some foul, get stuffed into one ugly bucket. A beloved star is marched to a microphone to shame the crowd into compliance. Maybe it buys a weekend. Often it salts the earth. Downey stepped off that treadmill. He wasn't torching Ironheart. He was refusing to torch the people who lifted him when the culture counted him out. Not anti-Riri, not anti-Dominique, anti-shortcut. He chose authenticity, the only currency that still spends when viewers are exhausted. Hovering over every call was a heartbeat rumor. Call it Doomsday, call it a multiversal wink. The studio knows his outline still bends skylines, but leverage runs both ways. Subtext floated everywhere. Help us stabilize this now, and your runway back gleams. Push back and plans might evolve. He didn't blink. This wasn't ego, it was stewardship. If his name returns, it can't be as a corporate fire extinguisher. If the moment isn't earned, you crack the magic at the point it's supposed to heal. Here's the line he drew. You cannot graft a mantle by memo. Tony Stark didn't become the heart of a universe because a press release crowned him. He became that because the character bled on screen and audiences chose him. If Ironheart is going to matter, let Riri become irreplaceable through plot, choice, and consequence. If the bond isn't forming yet, fix the writing. Don't scold viewers for noticing seams. Respect sounds like, we hear you, we'll do better. Disrespect sounds like, you failed the art by not applauding. Earn it. That's the handoff. Inside the building, quiet consequences stacked. PR stripped politics from question lists. Coordinators spaced joint appearances so co-stars wouldn't get caught in splashback. A planned defend the show segment morphed into a neutral mentorship piece. Legal circled the clause they thought would pin him down, then drafted memos about how forcing it on the MCU's most trusted face could napalm a decade of goodwill. Finance modeled whether a 90-second scold would convert fence sitters. The graph sagged. Meanwhile, the feedback loop that matters hummed in comments. Bring story, not slogans. People weren't allergic to inclusion. They were allergic to being lectured while the plot wobbled. The fan base split, but not neatly. One camp insisted he owes the house that rebuilt him. The other said he owes the people who bought tickets through his darkest chapters. A refrain kept popping up, let her earn it. Not because she shouldn't exist, but because she deserves the dignity of a real arc, not a borrowed halo. The paradox stung. The harder you force a torch under bright lights, the colder the crowd's hands feel around it. That's not hate, that's instinct. Myth can be gifted once. It's kept by merit. When he finally expanded on the topic, he took a road no one scripted. No scorecards, no finger wag. He talked about craft, young actors grinding through long days under hotter lights than he faced at their age. Bad scenes you learn from. Good notes you only hear in ugly rooms. Big swings that miss and why you don't stop swinging. He sounded like an artist, not an attorney. The applause didn't thunder. It simmered. Simmers last. Booms fade. Inside Marvel, recalibration drifted toward the only room that can fix anything, the writers. The mandate nudged a single degree, less slogan, more soul. If the armor gleams but the person inside is hollow, no billboard can make people care. Give Riri a problem only she can solve. Give her a failure she can't out-engineer. Give her a choice where every option costs something priceless. Do that, and the next promo tour won't need a chaperone. It will need a bigger calendar. None of this meant Downey slammed a door. The people who matter to him at Marvel know he hasn't. He's still the alumnus who walks those halls with gratitude, but gratitude isn't silence when the compass drifts. If he returns, it cannot feel like a coupon the studio cashed because a metric dipped. It has to feel like fate knocking on a door everyone assumed was sealed. The right beat, the right cost, the right consequence. Anything less insults the crowd and cheapens the character. He'd rather wait than rush something sacred. You could see that philosophy in micro choices. He dodged a combative late-night slot and picked a calmer, long-form sit-down. He praised Thorne's preparation instead of scolding timelines. He nudged curiosity instead of demanding loyalty. The temperature shifted, not a miracle spike. Something quieter, people leaning forward, comments like, okay, I'll give it another shot. That's how trust grows back, quietly, then all at once. Is there risk in telling $1 billion machine no? Always. Contracts exist. Headlines hunt for betrayal where there's only boundary. Some viewers will map a complicated process onto one face because one face is easier to argue with than dozens of decisions spread over months. But burning your credibility to prop up something that hasn't found itself yet is worse. That smoke sticks to a brand. The better path is slower and smarter, and he forced the door open to it. So yes, the smile looked different. Not because he's bitter, because he was doing math in real time. The cost of telling the truth in a town that mass produces easy lies. The MCU worked because the biggest studio in the world somehow made you feel like a kid again. You can't browbeat people back into that seat lean. You have to earn it with wit, wonder, and a beating heart part that isn't outsourced to talking points. If Marvel listens, Ironheart can be what its best supporters claim: smart, soulful, genuinely new. If Marvel doesn't, the next tour will be louder and emptier, a lecture circuit in a superhero mask. Downey chose the narrow road because he knows the last currency that never devalues: trust. When Iron Man says, "Earn it," he isn't slamming the door. He's holding it open. Take the steps with him, and the return everyone whispers about won't feel like a stunt. It'll feel like destiny, arriving on time with no forced lines, just truth. Fans will notice the difference, and they already are today, everywhere.